Hello, and welcome to Chapter 15 of my 0% LTC of Justice and Pride. Today's chapter is an escape chapter, and as you might expect, that means that there's an easy way to do it and a hard way to do it. And in this case, actually, the easy way is not as easy as it seems. If you try going straight across in the middle, just due to the fact of how little units you have, really, it's a lot harder than it seems. Especially since you would only have, like, 2 boss killers, really. The boss is actually pretty difficult in this map, and actually has to be killed in order to escape, which is part of the reason why you see all these promotions. Melinda's promotion in particular is more for this chapter, because I soon realized that actually it wasn't necessary for the Gaiden chapter right after this one. We're also seeing Tabitha promote. It's been a while since we've seen Tabitha, but she's going to get a very useful skill this chapter. I should talk about what I mean by that, as there are 3 spirits at the top of this map, right below the escape point. Each one has a skill associated with it. There's bow range +1, remove, and crit force. While crit force would be nice, it's far from really necessary, so we end up going with bow range +1. You start off by getting a necessary crit on that hero. That hero is pretty dangerous, and you want to get them out of the way immediately. I should mention that I checked the boss's stats at the beginning. That's because he needs to have 13 speed, as otherwise he will be extremely annoying to deal with, as 13 versus 14 speed is a threshold that decides whether Nisa can double him. Considering that Nisa can do around 16 damage, with a little bit of variance depending on the boss's resistance, it's pretty important that she can double him. Especially since he will make all skills null and void due to his Nihil. You can see that we immediately make use of Melinda, and also support her with Adorn. That's not really necessary at all, but what is necessary is this Kilobo crit. Tabitha gets 2 opportunities there, and the reason, of course, we want to do that is just because I actually slightly messed up this force turn strat slightly, which I felt kind of bad about. What you should do is Burial Tabitha, and then basically how it would go is Tabitha lives just barely. I believe the Cav attacks the Phantom or something. No, I think it's the Cav attacks Tabitha, and this Porridge Tome attacks Tabitha. But instead of that Porridge missing like it did heal, I messed up, and since I didn't burial Tabitha, I had to have her dodge that, which ends up with this Cav going after Carmen, which is less reliable, really, because that makes Carmen have to dodge even more things. As you can tell, it's pretty important that Carmen gets out in the front, as we need to bait a lot of enemies, because we want to kill enemies, but still stay on the move. You can also tell that we brought Lucas along again, He's not going to be doing too terribly much in terms of combat, but of course, as you might expect, a 7-move unit with a lot of aid is extremely useful just for ferrying other units around. We in general will try to give kills to units who want to try to get to level 10 promoted. I haven't talked about it much, but similar to Fates, there are skills you can get after you promote. Unlike Fates, the thresholds for these skills are just promoting, and then level 10. Not all units get a skill upon promoting, but the ones who do are obviously pretty useful. I should talk about Ivan and just how exactly as a unit he is. Oh, well, first I should explain, this Barrio Staff use is to make up for the fact that I should have used it on Tabitha before, so I wanted to keep my number of Barrio uses accurate to how much I should have. And either way, I needed to move Luigi farther up. There I moved the Phantom right there to make this whole deal reliable. Otherwise, Carmen would get attacked by all 4 enemies, and she would surely die. Also, that Morgadon... well, in general, the enemies would get in the way if we'd let them attack Nisa instead, which is why you don't see that. While we have just a bunch of various things going on as we see all units take down the enemy, I should talk about which level 10 skills we're specifically shooting for. Carmen will get Amaterasu at level 10. That's decently useful, but far from, like, really anything we really want. Though she's going to probably end up getting it anyway, just because of how much we've been using her. But the main thing we want is Nestor's level 10 skill, Trample. Trample works just like it did back in Fates, in that you deal about 5 extra damage, I believe it is, to all non-mounted units. It's honestly a ridiculous skill in terms of use. I should talk about how this chapter is actually pretty tight in terms of clearing. There was a lot of rescues and drops and rescue drops and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And it's because of these that we are barely able to get the turn order that we end up with. I should talk about this enemy phase some. Sadly, it's not as super reliable or anything. Basically, it requires Carmen to dodge one of these hits. She has a decent chance to dodge at least one of them, but I would have liked it better if I didn't have to rely on dodge tanking too much. I know that sounds hypocritical, since a couple of chapters ago I had to dodge tank like those like 6 different cavaliers, but I felt a lot better about that because I was on a pillow. I could take a lot of those hits anyway. I meant in this case, well, I literally could not do it without. As you can tell, Luigi is in need of a various amount of kills. So, as you might expect, we continue to give him as many as possible. Here, I have no idea why in the world I didn't move Melinda farther up. I genuinely have zero clue. Not that it matters too much, for Melinda at least, in the context of just having as much move as she does, and easily being able to reach the escape tile in time and whatnot, but at the same time, it's pretty important that we drop Ivan as well as Chris this turn, because the boss kill is coming up on next turn. I didn't talk about it, but basically how this map works with its boss kill is that you kill the boss, you have a unit perform just any action on the tile he was on, and then that opens not only the path to the escape point, but the escape point itself becomes available. I should also talk about the fact that the boss has a hoplan guard, which is why I'm not just rigging a crit, as easy as that would be to do to easily kill the boss. Instead, we have to slowly chip down this boss, all the time being wary of the 2 generals on the right, who will inevitably attack on the next enemy phase. As you can see, though, Ivan with the Devil Axe just barely is able to live, even if he didn't dodge that hit, and also with Philia's Might is able to easily take care of that boss. And as, of course, I make sure Nesto gets the boss kill, as I want to get the trample relatively soon. With the boss kill out of the way, now we have to deal with just how many units we have and how we want to also talk to the spirit with the bow range up, as well as get everyone into the escape point by the end of the next turn. There's not much to talk about that isn't self-evident, I'd say, really. For one, I think that Phantom probably should not have been done as it was, as I should have instead allowed it to die the previous turn, or just not even happen, period, and then do it. But you're probably wondering how in the world I make it by the end of the next turn, but you'll see that the process is interesting. Here I also yet again have to deal with a situation similar to that last time. The only way I could have seen it be more reliable is if I didn't rescue Adorn again, and instead just let it sit there so that I can actually get the charisma boost. And now you can see a lot of escaping going on, as well as just how complicated all this gets. Here I can't skip the dialogue, because that's the only way to accept the reward. But either way, as you can tell, we do some interesting things in order to, and as well as use Luigi's power staff in order to be able to escape with everyone just in time. And that's the map in 6 torrents, and going through the very glitched out end chapter events, we finally get Adorn to promote. There's not much to talk about with this promotion. It's mostly just nice to have more move and whatnot, and slightly better stats. Either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.